Hello, everybody. Happy nearly New Year. Coming at you with slightly different content. I've been keeping end of year lists for the last couple years, and usually I just post a picture and, with some album art with the list, but I wanted to really verbalize and talk about it this year on camera. So I have my honorable mentions, and then I have kind of my top 20 albums of the year. I was going to try to keep it to 10, but there honestly was so much amazing music this year that I just couldn't leave anything out. So, so I just wanted to thank you for a great year. Thanks for supporting my channel. Thank you to all the creators and all the musicians out there that have continued to give us such beautiful things to listen to and to comfort us during these crazy times. And I hope that everyone stays safe. And a quick note, the ranking is loose because, again, everything was so good. So it's not that my number 20 was so awful. It's just there's just so much. And so the ranking is kind of fluid. And also, you'll hear some backing audio, but there won't be exactly precise backing tracks for every single segment. So just a word about that. So thank you so much for watching. Take care. So first up, I'd love to take a moment to acknowledge my honorable mentions. So these albums didn't make the top 20 list, but again, ranking is so hard and everything was so good this year that I still want to include these. So my honorable mentions this year are Fear Factory, Aggression Continuum, Hellish Form Remains, Praise the Plague, The Obsidian Gate, Lorna Shore, and I Return to Nothingness, and Beyond Grace, Our Kingdom Undone. At number 20, I have the album Had by the Romanian band Dor de Dach. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, so forgive me if not. I thought this album was really, really avant-garde, beautiful, interesting. I love atmosphere, especially paired with black metal, and I felt that this was a really beautiful hybridization of completely avant-garde, out there kind of segments, black metal, and then just beautiful atmosphere. And I thought it was very well done, very creative, and I really enjoyed it. And coming in at number 19, I have Meridian by Hippotractor. That, this album came out, I think, in the fall, comes from Pelagic Records. It's always funny to me how Pelagic bands are so on brand. They don't all sound the same, but there's a very, very solid mid-tempo, almost focus on earthen, geological, cosmic things in the lyrics, and not always, but I felt what I put in my notes for this album was that it was a Pelagic Records gem because it has all the features of a Pelagic band. It's got really clean lines, really modern, just great groovy guitars and song structure, and I thought it was a standout record of the year. And it was an album that was excellent start to finish. So I really loved it, and that's number 19. What I love about my number 18 album, Landlos, I'm not sure what the accent mark or grammatical mark on top of the O actually means, but by Viltund, great German artist group. Similarly to Meridian, it's an excellent record start to finish. What I love so much about it, in addition, is it has really clean, catchy, major and melodic kind of parts for most of the songs that blend well with a lot of shoegaze and some kind of prog mixed in there. So it's just very creative, very fresh, and I appreciate the sort of lack of puritanical structure and sort of proving one genre, because so many bands now and so many artists don't stick to one genre sort of puritanical standard. But I thought this was a really fresh, just pleasant record on top of just being really well done. At number 17, I have Witness, the album by the Danish band Vola, and my comments are very similar to my comments about Hippotractor Meridian album. Just really clean, fresh, well done, kind of, it's youthful in the sense that it sort of makes me think about where metal is going, where, gent with melody is kind of going, and I thought it was great, so that's my number 17. At Sweet 16, I have Praenuncius Infinity, or Praenuncius Infiniti, by the South African band Odynia. I thought this album was fabulously executed. Slam and, lots of breakdowns aren't for everybody. Some people find it repetitive, but I thought that the technique, the musicianship, and the musical technique on this album was incredible. The solos, the riffs, the intricacies, I thought were incredible. And it was fast, it was powerful, it was impactful. So, big fan of my Sweet 16. At number 15, I have Biogenesis by Inferi. Just fantastic tech death, beautiful, fast, again, sort of like Odynia, excellent technique. I appreciated sort of the epic compositions in this album, and I really appreciated the use of piano, which feels like maybe something a bit newer for Inferi. Maybe not. I haven't listened to all their back catalog, but stellar job, and really great. Can't say it enough. Really great, number 15. I'm not the biggest punk and hardcore girl, but I have to give it to my number 14 album, The Lurch by Yautia. I think it's Yautia. If it's Yautia, I don't know. But as someone who's not always into punk and hardcore, I thought this album was incredibly punchy, a breath of fresh air. I loved the way they brought in some kind of doomy grooves with the hardcore. Even a tiny bit, I heard some sort of djenty bits a little bit. I just thought it was very avant-garde, very interesting to pair the hardcore punk with some of the doom. I thought it was really well done. My number 13 is from the wonderful Spanish band Alterage. Their album Succumb was definitely one of my favorites. I thought it was completely visceral. It was regal. It was dystopian. It was, of course, it goes without saying, evil. It was powerful. It was just, it felt like a weight sitting on my chest listening to it. And I love that type of impact. So, beautiful album. Really interesting concepts. And, just again, visceral. I felt it in my bones. My number 12 pick just breaks my heart, but I think that's a testament to how stunning it is as a piece of art. It is Where Fear and Weapons Meet by the Ukrainian band 1914. And I'm sorry to say that this was the first piece of theirs I had heard. I want to learn more and listen more to their back catalog, because I thought that the way they paired old, kind of early 1900s audio voiceover and old, radio, not clippings, but samples of songs sung during the war, during World War I, mixed with the extremely atmospheric, emotional metal. I was near tears a couple of times, and how creative and just how devastating, so I thought it was just brilliant. At number 11, I have, of course, the French sort of kings of metal, Gojira, and their album Fortitude. By now, they've mastered their craft. They know what they're doing. It's A+, it's them. It's perfect. It's like there's nothing wrong with it. And I've always respected their commitments to environmental awareness and raising awareness for the Amazon and just climate change in general, going back many albums. Almost all their albums do it. So the only thing, it's not higher on my list because I know a lot of publications have marked it the best album of the year. It's just, there's a little bit of like creativity and innovation that I'm missing a tiny bit. And that's just because they've mastered their craft and they are solidly stuck to what they do best. So the only reason why it's not a little higher is because I also love to sort of see, I like bands to master themselves, but I also like to see new touches. And, you know, I'm always going to be a fan of Gojira. I can't wait to see what they do next. And this was another solid production, another solid release. My number 10 is one of the most beautiful albums I've ever heard, from the Russian band Cowan Ice Fleet. They win creativity points for me, just like 1914 does, for their very, very, very specific focus on old Arctic naval tragedies and battles and such. It's a very unique thing to focus on musically and to create sonic worlds in. So big giant creativity points. This is very true blue Northern European aesthetics and sounds. I'm very, very partial to those sounds. It's stunning, the atmospheric kind of doom with just subtle, quiet piano pieces in the middle, and just a lovely, lovely, melancholy, cold, gorgeous piece of music all the way through. More pristine technical musicianship on my number 9. Ikigai by Abiotic is just the technical skill, the percussion, the guitars, everything is just through the roof on this album. Very interesting song structures. We have some deathcore, we have some tech death, we have just some sort of, I don't want to do the sort of cliche thing and say jazz because I don't want to do that, but some of the passages are just really, really unexpected. And more creativity points for the concept. I mean, leaning into the plight of samurai with the sounds they create is just really, really impressive. So, excellent record at number 9. At number 8, I have an album that I was not expecting to get in 2021. Biolume Part 2, The Golden Orb, which comes from the band Midnight Odyssey from Australia, is a whopper of a record. And I thought Biolume Part 2 was a magnificent record, and it was so dense that I cannot believe they put out another super dense, layered project already. I thought it was a glorious merging of technique and style. Celestial medieval touches with the atmospheric black metal, and just other just juicy comp. I adored and adore Congregation Pestilence by Drawn and Quartered. Oh my goodness. It is a modern yet classical take on more traditional death metal sounds, but they just, all the best things they managed to do, and it's not boring. Because sometimes, for me at least, some of the traditional death metal, it gets a little bit boring for me, but the riff construction, the flow, I thought this album was damn near perfect. And the title track, which is the last track on the album, is one of my favorite riffs I think I've ever heard, and I listened to that song especially on repeat for weeks. So yeah, loved Congregation Pestilence, and not just because we're living in a pandemic. At number 6, I definitely want to shout out Omega by Epica from the Netherlands. I felt like when this album came out, there was a lot of press and stuff online describing this as, you know, Epica's back and better than ever. They took a couple years off after the holographic principle, and I was completely completely impressed. I loved Simone's vocals. I love the production. I love the use of more international world music flavors and touches. Just so polished, so expertly done. And I thought that as a sort of icing on the cake, the live performance of Omega Alive in June had me just in tears, and I thought it was so incredible too. So overall, I can't wait to see these songs live if we can safely go to shows and continue to go to shows in the coming years. But congrats to Epica. Gorgeous, gorgeous album. Getting to the top. So my number 5 is Dream Weapon by enghistran. And similarly to Epica, while it wasn't like enghistran was coming back after a super, super long time, there was press about them being back in kind of a new form. And while they're kind of an experimental band anyway, I read, in comments and in articles that this sort of psychedelic approach was a bit of a new direction for them. And I give it an A+. I think their older stuff is excellent too, but I thought that this kind of dreamy, I guess, pun intended, whimsical, psychological, or psychedelic touch that they have found themselves in works. I think it's clean, refreshing, and I think that the concept of the album, having this dream thing to save us in the middle of all this chaos we're in, was simultaneously kind of out there, but also a huge reality check that we really shouldn't be waiting for some miracle weapon or dream item to save us from all of our failures. So yeah, awesome record at number 5. My number 4 seems to have had a bit of a conflicting landing with many different fans. It is The Work by Rivers of Nihil, or Nihil. I heard in the media people and fans complaining about this album and saying that they didn't even recognize them, and it was just so different, it was so dark. But I kind of found it really, really, really not just impressive, but really honest. It feels like a pandemic album to the fullest. It feels like it communicated a state of kind of being permanently changed and just being traumatized. And this spoke to me a lot because I feel that in this period of trauma we've all been through, pretending that we can just come back the same as we always were doesn't make a lot of sense. And this felt very artistic and grief-stricken and just very human, in my opinion, on top of being technically on point. So I thought this was a really impressive album, even though it kind of landed a bit more complicatedly for others. Number 3, from Sweden, Vildhyarta's Masta den Untervaten album. Excuse me again, forgive me for any botched pronunciations, but this was almost Winter Sun Time-like in that it was a very long wait, sort of, to get a new record from Vildhyarta, and what a doozy. I mean, welcome back. So many tempo changes, incredible guitar work, great percussion, unexpected, interesting sounds overall, and the creative concept of these sort of demonic layers. Almost, it reminded me of Dante's Inferno, like kind of circles of hell and kind of layers of demons and evil working all the way up to the big final epic heaven, paradise, Noah's Ark kind of thing. And the fact that they created pieces of visual art to accompany each song really sent the message and just made for an entire, like a whole package, a whole artistic package. And I was lucky to be on the live YouTube premiere, so I listened to it for the first time with hundreds of other people, and we were all just constantly in the comments, just like, you thought your mind was blown, but then now it's going to be blown again, and you thought you heard the most exciting part, and then, oh my gosh, now there's another huge, exciting turn. So bravo, and absolutely my top 3, incredible, and welcome back. Not surprisingly, at number 2, I'm kind of pretty much coasting straight from Vildhyarta into Humanity's Last Breath and the album Valdez. Oh my goodness. Again, similarly to Vildhyarta, but a little different, just the instrumentation, the toning of the guitars, and the sort of just the way the percussion was so the production of everything, and the percussion and the guitars and everything is so crisp and so clean, and just again kind of the unexpected riffing, the tempo changes, the themes, kind of like some of the other albums on this list. It really kind of, to me, showcases where Swedish metal is going, and kind of like some of the other albums, like Altero, for instance. I felt this album, I felt the bones of this album in my chest, and I felt the gravity of everything in my whole body. And it's fresh, it's brutal, it's amazing. I listened to it every day from February to April. That's not weird, but I was obsessed with it. And of course, on my channel, I covered Tide, because that was one of my favorite songs of the year. And just think that there's so much talent there, and a lot of exciting things for the future of Swedish metal. And amazing to get two albums from, Buster and his crew, and the Vildhyarta crew in 1 year. It's freaking awesome. And finally, at number 1, I'm just so giddy to talk about BT Bam Colors 2. I mean, my God. I knew it was going to be incredible, and I know they've done things before with Automata and other records where they kind of do that second version where they bring, old melodies, old things, and then merge it with new things and take the theme of the original to a new place. But my God, to me, this is an album of the decade, if not an album of the century. The hybridization of the old tracks and the old riffs with the new directions of everything, it's just genius. I mean, BT Bam is like Gojira in that they are, it's them and they've mastered their craft. But where I think they take things a step further than Gojira sometimes is with the innovation. And this album was the pickup I needed at the time of year that it came out. They just keep raising the bar, and it's just so humbling. It feels like an honor to even witness talent like theirs. It's humbling to witness any creator do what they do, but this completely blew me away. I had to listen to it 3 or 4 times just to understand, and it's magnificent. It's absolutely magnificent, and bravo, BT Bam. And also, they're just so kind. For them to be this talented and to be so nice, because I was lucky to meet them a few times and many years ago, and just incredible. So, cheers to BT Bam. Cheers to all these bands.